Good evening. Time is now 5 o'clock. Warwick City Council Finance Committee comes to order. We have two members. One member will be joining us at 7. One is currently stuck in traffic. So we have stand-in of the council president and pro tem. We will get right into it. First up, we have acceptance of the minutes from the committee meeting held on October 21st, 2024.
I move favorable action.
Second.
Moved, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Sorry, let me just get organized here. All right, moving into the consent calendar. We have acceptance of the minutes from the committee meeting held on October 21st, 2024.
Move favorable action.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. PCR 10324, our bids. First up is 2025-266, purchase 2 2023 auto car side loading refuse vehicles. Evening, Christy.
Good evening. Christy Moretti, Public Works. Public Works is requesting to purchase 2 2023 auto car side loading refuse vehicles from Sanitary Equipment in the amount of $760,000. The reason we are making this request is that there are 2 vehicles that were ordered by a municipality that they reversed course on their decision to buy them, so they were offered to us. So we can purchase these 2 vehicles at 2023 pricing. I'm sorry, 2021 pricing. They are brand new. They've never had trash in them. And right now they're located in Alabama. So by the time they get to us, assuming we get approved, we will have, they'll have close to 2,000 miles on them. And with that as well, right after this request, there is one we had requested previously to purchase a 2025 Kenworth side loading vehicle. We will, if this gets approved, we will rescind that request, and that the monies from that request will go towards the purchase of these 2 vehicles.
Understood. Any questions from members of the committee? Yes.
Good evening, Christy.
Good evening.
So yes, you did mention that we're looking to get the 2021 pricing for this. So the difference there, $380,000 compared. The 2025 pricing is $416,000 and change.
Correct.
Okay. And who drives it up from Alabama?
They'll transport it to us.
Okay.
So it's.
So we're not sending somebody
No,
to go pick it
nope.
up. Oh. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you. Hi, Christy.
Good evening.
So the council president just asked part of my question. First, I want to ask you if anyone, either through video or through photographs, have you seen pictures documenting the condition of this vehicle, both inside and out, as well as the odometer?
The automotive chief has had primary contact with the vendor that we're requesting to purchase from. So he had all the information. He's the one that brought the pricing to us for these vehicles. So he has that. I don't have it personally, but and we also have a longstanding history with this vendor. We've purchased probably 10 vehicles through them over the years. So I'm fully confident in making the requests recommended by the automotive chief.
All right, so your answer is that you do have documentation of the condition of these vehicles in and out as well as mileage?
I'm not 100% sure.
Not you personally,
but I believe the automotive chief had the information, and he just sent us the money side of it. So
yeah. Well, I would certainly hope that in purchasing $760,000 worth of vehicles, that someone has documented all of these things and the condition of these vehicles. To follow up on the council president's question regarding who's driving the vehicles. So the sanitary equipment folks are going to be the ones driving the vehicles down to us?
or they'll hire somebody
Or they're designated.
from yes, they will. The price for these vehicles includes transport to us. So they'll actually go to Connecticut first for like a PDI, a pre-delivery inspection. And then once that's completed, then they'll be delivered to us.
And that means that sanitary equipment is going to be responsible for the insurance on those vehicles, the coverage and the
Yes,
cost?
I don't notify finance to add them to the insurance until they are on our property.
And at that time is when we'll take responsibility for the vehicles when they're literally delivered to our property.
Correct.
Okay. And this kind of goes over to, well, never mind. I'll just ask it when we get to the next item. That is all I have for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other members of the council have questions on this item? Thank you, Christy.
Thank you.
Sorry, any members of the public? Thank you. All right. Okay. All right. Number two, 2025-172 purchase 2025 Kenworth L770 side loading sanitation vehicle. Christy.
This request is from Public Works to rescind the award that we had made to sanitary equipment to purchase the 2025 Kenworth side loader in the amount of $416,953.
Okay, excellent. Any members of the committee have questions? Councilman?
Thank you. Chrissy, do you have, or does the city have a written agreement or something in writing from sanitary equipment agreeing to rescind this?
Yes, I notified the salesman that if we were allowed to purchase the other two vehicles, that we were canceling the order. And he did acknowledge back to me that they understood that.
And do they understand that without any imposed penalties for canceling it?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. That's all I have.
Any other members of the council? Chrissy, just a quick question on this one. So we are able to get the 2 units that we just discussed, and we're going to cancel the purchase order for this single 2025 purchase. Does the addition of the second unit on with the 2023 pricing do anything else to our purchasing plans for the year around sanitation vehicles? Or is this just one more than we thought we would get?
This is kind of one of those, it was too good to pass up for us to get a brand new truck for pricing that we're almost at 4 years old. So no, it doesn't. We had a vehicle in capital for fiscal year 26, I believe. We may end up foregoing that vehicle because we purchased this, but that internal discussion would obviously be more at budget time than the decision being made right now.
Okay. And are you aware in terms of the budgeted capital expenses related to ARPA funds? So that obviously we'll spend a little bit more here to get a lot more. But are we pulling funds that we had anticipated using later, or?
We had to be a little bit creative with the, not creative, that's probably a poor word, but we went through what we had left in ARPA funds, what we had obligated, what we still had to, encumber by the end of this calendar year. And we were able to come up with the funds in ARPA to purchase these vehicles. So, and we don't have any issue with our ARPA funding.
Okay. Thank you, Christy. Any members of the public have any questions? Okay. You want to take over? Sure. Okay. Next up, item number 3, 2023-220, body-worn cameras, software, and associated equipment. Major?
Good evening, Major Randy Sullivan for the Police Department. The Police Department is requesting a 612 alteration of contract to increase the spending authority of bid 2023-220 with Axon Enterprises in the amount of $570,000. Last year, the Warwick Police Department applied for the fiscal year 24 U.S. Department of Justice COPS Technology and Equipment Grant through Senator Jack Reed's office. We were recently informed that we had been awarded the $570,000 grant. The grant funding will be used to purchase 30 additional body-worn cameras, additional docking stations for the cameras, and 5 complete virtual reality training sets. The grant will also cover 5 varieties of related software expenses. With this spending authority increase, the new total spending authority will be $1,480,000. The contract award date will remain the same, and this will be derived from budget code 363-0457. And finally, on behalf of the Warwick Police Department, we'd like to publicly thank Senator Jack Reed's office for this exceptional opportunity.
Thank you, Major. Yes, certainly a huge help by Senator Reed in supporting the department and the city in this. Is this just supplementing our existing portfolio of body-worn cameras, or is this in addition? Or
Both. So we have approximately 110 cameras right now.
Okay.
So we're adding 30 more for better personnel coverage as needed. And then the virtual reality software is very innovative and a new concept. It's just wearing the virtual reality goggles with simulated accessories, that being taser and firearm, and it can put officers through a vast various scenarios for training purposes, and in the confines of a we just do it anywhere. Basically, could do it in a small room in the station. Doesn't need to be a fancy, elaborate setup. It also pay for extensive amount of software. As we know, these contracts, a lot of the software is as expensive as the hardware. So it's going to be paying for that. And there's also another component, Axon Investigate, that we pay for separately, is approximately $3,000 a year. And that's going to be bundled into this 612. So that'll come out, this $3,000 at least annually for the life of this remaining contract, and that lasts till 2028, that we won't be paying out of the regular budget.
Thank you, Major. Any questions or comments from members of the committee? Councilman Howe.
Thank you, Councilman. Major, so just to reiterate, this is a fully funded grant. This program, this initiative, this safety initiative that protects our officers, as well as helps the officers with the training and development of great careers of our officers in the community.
Yes.
Great. Thank you. And 100% federal grant.
100% funded congressionally directed spending through the COPS grant. And another footnote is this cannot be used for capital purchases such as cruisers,
Understood.
building infrastructure, firearms. So there's a lot of caveats. So this is where we got to
Specifically,
this. Yes.
specifically for the cameras.
Yes, that was a qualifying investment.
Great. Well, thank you to you and the department for getting this grant that comes in so vital and so important. Thank you. Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions from the committee? From the council? Councilman Lattiser?
Thank you. Good evening, Major.
Good evening.
So I just want to review something I think you kind of already touched on. The purchase that you're looking to make for this additional hardware and software, that is what that amount is of $568,442, right?
I'm sorry, can you say that again? So it's what?
It's $568,442.
That's correct. The grant total that was approved was $570,000.
Right.
Being that it was just a smidgen more, we wanted to request the spending authority and for any, if we could squeeze, one more.
Sure. No,
Purchase
I get that. I
Yeah.
understand that. But the question I'm asking is that $568,442 is going to be spent only on additional hardware and software.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's all.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other questions from members of the council? Members of the public? Hearing none, we will move on. Next up is item number 4, 2025-265, purchase one Freightliner van con truck. It's on page 21.
Christy Moretti, Public Works. We are requesting to purchase it's actually a VAC-Con truck. There was just a little typo there. For the Highway Division, this is a vehicle that will, we can use with our drainage infrastructure for cleaning and jetting and things like that. We do have one right now. Well, it's a 1997. It was reappropriated from the sewer department. It's no longer at all useful in any capacity. This vehicle would come from sanitary equipment again in the amount of $564,725. And if we get it approved, they can get us a January 2025 build slot for this vehicle. And then according to the information I was given, it would be delivered early February. And we also included a quote from another vendor for a similar vehicle that was more expensive. So we are requesting to purchase the lesser priced vehicle.
Thank you, Chris. Christy, what is this another one where we were approached by the vendor, or was this on our list of items to go out and procure?
This was part of our spending plan. We had originally estimated $420,000. So we already had that allocated. Again, it is more than that, but that was part of the exercise that we went through with the other two vehicles as far as where we would get the monies from. So this is also part of that. So it's been earmarked and doesn't really change our spending plan.
Got it. And when I'm recalling us purchasing a similar vehicle, like in the last 18 months, is that?
No, we have a couple of years ago, we purchased a clamshell truck, which is different. It's kind of like a dump truck that has an arm on it with a clamshell that goes in and pulls the stuff out. But this is a different truck. You fill it with water. It has basically a heavy duty jet on it, so we can try to clear lines and if there's a blockage or things like that.
And Christy, how in the absence or with the piece of equipment you currently have, how are we cleaning catch basins and dry wells and whatnot?
So we send the clamshell truck out right now. As far as anything else, usually it only happens if we have a problem that we need to investigate. Sewer does have one of these trucks. However, they need to use it for their own purposes. So 9 times out of 10, when we ask them, if they can help us out, it's already being used or it's scheduled for whatever their purposes are. So it ends up, we have to wait till it's available. This would make it more, if we had our own truck, we have a driver that would be assigned to it. We can send them out when we need to. They can also do maintenance of sorts for the drainage, which is also part of our DEM consent agreement. Thank
Dad's
you
here.
for scaring me.
Thank you. Sorry. Eric Earls, Public Works. Like Christy was saying, Sewer Authority has a piece of equipment that we can occasionally use, but it's always on their schedule. And because it's not readily available to us, we only use that when we need to put out fires, right? So by the time we're asking the Sewer Authority to use this truck, typically the line that we want to clean has been completely clogged. If Public Works were to have their own piece of equipment like we historically have, this is not a new piece of equipment. This is just one that we historically have and we currently don't. We can perform regular maintenance, right? We can be out there, and when we clean with the clamshell, right, the clamshell goes down and pulls out all the big stuff. And then we go back with this piece of equipment. We use the pressure washer to really clean inside, and then we use a pressure hose to go in the drainage line and clean out the drainage line and flush that as well. Right now with the clamshell, all we're doing is pulling stuff out. We can't get into any of the lines, right? So by the time we're seeing problems, it's a storm and the road is flooded, and that's how we find out, right? And you guys all know that because we always get calls from you because you've heard from your constituents. This piece of equipment will allow us to have a better preventive maintenance program and adjust those things before they get to that elevated level.
Got it. And so with this piece of equipment, you would assign a driver to that piece of equipment, and that we would be operating that. Would there be a schedule for preventative maintenance?
Yeah, absolutely. On a road like like Sandy Lane, for example, rather than going out there and cleaning the structure that we got calls on, we would just have a regular program to go down the street and clean them all, which is obviously more efficient than jumping all over the city to just try and put out fires. But yes, we would have a program like that.
And do you currently have the manpower to staff this truck if you had it? Or?
Yeah. As Christy indicated, we do currently have one. And so that operator has primarily been used in the clamshell. Typically, we have 2 people trained on those apparatus. Right now, we only have 1 because we only have the 1 piece of equipment. But it's not an issue. There is a backup operator for that piece of equipment, and this would be kind of the 2 of them would co-operate this equipment.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Any other questions from members of the committee? Councilman Howe.
More of a comment, and I appreciate you saying Sandy Lane because I also know that off the Strawberry Field, Burbank, and Evergreen, and all those, there is a lot of vegetation on the side of the road that we have to, and I give you quite a few calls, as you said. We're calling and we're trying to find out when. So I appreciate this purchase. I appreciate the department advocating for this purchase because that is definitely one of the things as we're trying to do that fine balance of deal with the storms, but also keep our vegetation, obviously, for the environment. So this will assist. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman Travis.
Yes. Hi, Director. The truck that you got now, how old is that one?
97.
1997.
97. So it's running all right?
No,
So-
it's not. It doesn't function in any capacity. The
Yeah, I thought it
pressure
was
washer
that.
doesn't work at all, and the hose that would suck material out is probably at 50% capacity, if that. So it doesn't make sense to go out there without the pressure washing capacity because, the mechanism that sucks stuff up is functioning like the clamshell, essentially.
So you're talking about you have 2 people that will be able to use the other one then?
Yeah, we would be able to
So
mobilize
we won't
both.
have 2 vehicles out there. We'll just have 2 people that know how to run that.
Well, no, we would be able to mobilize 2 pieces of equipment with 2 operators at the same time.
Oh, that's great.
Yep.
How many vehicles have we gotten so far in the public works with the opera money? Do you know?
I don't have that off the top of my head, but it's been substantial between sanitation vehicles and pickup trucks for the foreman.
great.
And, the water division has gotten a handful of trucks. Yeah, it's really improved our fleet considerably.
Good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Lattiser.
Hi, Director. Eric, I'm curious, how many drains do we have in the city? Do you
We
know
have
if
about 8,000 drainage structures. So that includes manholes that are typically in the middle of the road with junctions. Of catch basins, I think the number is about 5,000.
I think this vehicle that you described is outstanding, actually. I'm going to be really happy to support it. I know that I've reached out to you and the chief of staff recently on various amounts of drains that are clogged for whatever reason. So this certainly is going to be, I think, a great benefit for you to keep up with. With that piece of equipment, particularly with the things that it can do, in addition to just scooping stuff out, I think that power washing thing, I'll refer to it as power washing, is just an amazing piece of work. How many drains would you think on a daily basis, a couple of crews can deal with?
If they didn't run into any issues, they could, with that one piece of equipment, they could probably get to 20 or 30, depending on, like I said, if there aren't any issues.
Sure.
With the clamshell, on a good day, we can get to 15 or so. But with this piece of equipment, things would go a lot faster.
Well, in addition to that, too, once you get your program implemented, where you have ongoing program of keeping up with these things, essentially maybe on a daily basis, that'll all end up going a lot faster too, because you're not going to have those issues.
Absolutely.
So in here, it reflects on the city has to comply with the Rhode Island DEM consent agreement. And I'm sure you will remember the extensive discussions we had about that when this came before us, and what my concerns were with the staffing and the equipment that you had, not necessarily the intent of DPW, but the capability of being able to stay with that, what I considered at the time a very aggressive plan from DEM. How are you making out with that?
We are doing enough to
Stay out of trouble?
Yes, I guess that's fair. DEM has been working with us. They acknowledge that there's a financial burden. We submit our annual reports regularly that indicate what we've done. And, ideally they would have us doing more, but, we've been doing enough to kind of move the program forward. But as you indicated, if we're out there, if we can clean catch basins, once a year or twice a year, I'm sorry, every other year, once a year, every other year, every third year, what we can do is see how the frequency that we need. If we go out there and clean it this year and then go back next year and see that there's nothing in it, well, now we know we can set that schedule to do it less frequently. And DEM acknowledges that when we submit our report. So now instead of having to get 5,000 every year, maybe we have to do 2,500, which is a more reasonable number. But yeah, we work with them, and there's an open line of communication.
So you'll probably remember that I had expressed major concerns with the ability of your department to be able to keep up with the demands of DEM at the time. And has DEM had to give you any extensions on this?
No.
Okay.
No. Like I said, we keep an open line of communication, and the
Okay.
handful of things,
Good. Well, this vehicle, no doubt, is going to be a really great asset to you. The other question I have is, why didn't you go out for bid for this vehicle?
This type of equipment, it's because of the way it's specialized. A lot of the vendors don't bid just because they don't have to. But we could have, and maybe we could have, gotten more input. But getting something like this that's not, it's not readily available. The idea that this can be on our property in a couple months and we can start using it. If we try and buy something that's not already in the works, you're looking 12 to 18 months out. And that's what we would have anticipated with a bid. Our guys are constantly looking for pieces of equipment that's available just because, we know the urgency and we know that buying something brand new, the lead time is just too long for it to really be reasonable.
So with this knowledge, is it fair to say that your staff have done some comparative pricing on this and are comfortable with this number?
Oh, absolutely, 100%.
Okay. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. And it was a little bit ago, but Christy did mention in the beginning of her statement that there was I think there was a second bid included in here. Maybe not bid, but a second quote included in our documentation, which was a little bit higher. So, are you able to provide the council with a copy of our latest DEM report that we were just discussing?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's available online, but we can send that over.
Okay.
We submit it electronically, so it's readily available.
Okay, cool. Councilman?
I have one more question.
Sure.
Eric, being that we're putting GPSs in a lot of the vehicles, will you be putting a GPS in this vehicle as well?
Right now, GPS is only going to be in sanitation vehicles, but there has been discussion about using that program more widely. But right now, the plan is just sanitation vehicles.
But it could be adapted to this too. Or
Yeah, absolutely.
Other vehicles. Okay.
Yeah, the technology is not that tricky. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Any Councilman Ricks?
Thank you. I think this is great. I'm really glad that you and the department are staying on top of this. It's something where we know that this problem exists, and I'm really relieved to hear that there's a real plan here. I think that this is a very wise investment that's going to save the city a lot of time, a lot of money, and also just provide that higher quality of service for the residents. And I suppose a case in point here is, and please correct me if I'm wrong on this, because I was trying to look up some of the information, wasn't able to grab it all off of my phone, but I was able to go back over some of the messages from way back when, way before you were the DPW director. And I remember back in the summer of 2017, there was an issue with the line under Manola Ave. And yeah, that ended up just being one heck of a terrible mess, where I believe that line was chock full of tree roots. And then the DPW director, or one or more immediately following in 2018, I was noticing this issue in Norwood Field, 2/10 of a mile down the road from Manola. And for those who are familiar with the system, basically it's that 500 feet, 1,000 feet upstream, so to speak, from Manola. I believe it's a 36-inch line under that field. Thank you. Yeah. I do remember that correctly. And so the field was effectively turning into a pond and there would be ducks and geese landing there because of the standing water. And then actually my house is a little bit upstream from there, and myself and all my neighbors, we were getting our basement flooded like never before. And it ended up just being a whole mess for, the public in general who wanted to use the field, as well as the homeowners in the area, just because the drainage wasn't working as it should have been. There was also this whole question and some pushback from the city back then, not involving you, Director, not involving anyone who's here in front of us from the administration today, but it was frustrating back then that there was denial going on, where there was discussion about, well, how do you know this isn't just something to do with the water table? But at the end of the day, it took over a year, it got figured out, and once again, it turned out that that 36-inch line, chock full of tree roots, incredible. And it took the city quite a while to be able to clear that line. And now, I know that in recent months, there's actually been, at least to my understanding, a similar issue going on in the area immediately between those two spots that were issues in 2017 and 2018. And so I suppose that my question here is, this type of equipment, is that going to be of use once it arrives? Knock on wood, hopefully, if approved tonight, hopefully arriving in or around January 2025. Is that equipment going to be helpful in solving that problem over on Norwood Ave?
It's possible. Once you start talking about tree roots, depending on how inundated the line is, this machine might work, it might not. Again, this is just a water jet that goes through, and it's very high pressure, but it may not blast through significant roots. But that being said, if you have a regular maintenance program and you're out there regularly, then you don't allow that to happen in the first place. And that's kind of what we're looking for. In a situation like that, where it's inundated with roots, a lot of times you have to go outside and hire someone to bring actually like a rooter in that has like a blade or something like that.
I'm really glad to hear that, because at the end of the day, I was doing some quick math based on what Councilman Lattiser was asking about how many catch basins a day, and your response. And it seems that if it's situations where it's not running into a major problem, just crunching the numbers quick, it looked like it should be the sort of thing where once the system is down and in place, might actually be feasible to run through the whole city on a preventative maintenance program on more or less an annual basis. Obviously, I'm not going to hold you to any of that at this point because it's way too early to know, but that would be absolutely fantastic. Catch these things before they become issues, save a lot of time, hassle, especially for the residents. Over on Norwood Ave right now, I've got videos taken by a constituent where the lip of the driveway is something like 8 inches off of the bottom, where the road bottoms out, and the water is actually rising up over that 8 inches and then flowing down the hill and flooding into his property. And so whatever we can do to prevent situations like that from happening in the first place, that's exactly the kind of long-term planning that I think is absolutely essential for the city moving forward. And it's something that I can 100% get behind on here to make sure that everything is running smoothly and we prevent these kinds of situations from happening. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other members of the council have any questions or comments? Members of the public? Okay, seems like we all like the Van Con truck. Number 5, 2023-257, State of Rhode Island Premium Diesel Exhaust Fluid Lubricants, Oil and Greases. Good evening, Christy.
Good evening. Christy Moretti, Public Works. Public Works is requesting to extend the expiration to November 30, 2025, and increase the spending authority $70,000 for a bid that we piggyback through the state MPA. for motor oils, greases, hydraulic fluid, transmission fluid, everything automotive related,
Got it.
and DEF fluid actually, which is very important to our diesel vehicles.
Very important. Thank you. And so is this action just to align our contract period with the state MPA period?
Yes.
And the spending authority follows essentially our budgeted run rate?
Well, I had previously asked for I want to say in September, maybe like a $30,000 increase. So I didn't ask for the full amount that I normally would have for a year because we already requested that portion of it.
Understood. Thank you, Christy. Members of the committee, questions? Members of the council? Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you. So I'm kind of going to follow up on something that you just commented on, Christy. On September 16th of 2024, we approved a $35,000 request, which is what you came to us for. And
I'm
I
sorry,
think-
Councilman,
I think you
I
got-
can't hear you very well.
I said on September 16th, 2024, you had come to us and looking for an approval for $35,000. I think I just heard you say that you knew that wasn't going to be enough, but that's what you were coming for. So in your position paper, you state that the state of Rhode Island has extended the award for this bid to November 30th, 2025. I don't know if that's supposed to be kind of like, you know, a new announcement or what, but, you know, we knew this back on September 16th as well of 2024. So literally 1 month after we approved $35,000, you come back to us requesting spending authority of $70,000. And I don't get that. How does it go from $35,000 approved by us to take you into November 30th, 2025 to 1 month later coming back asking for an additional $70,000? I don't get this.
So in September, when I made the request for the $35,000, the bid expired November 30, 2024. If you look at the state MPA page, they approved their purchase order to extend the contract an additional year, which is what we're asking for tonight, on September 25th. So that was their approval date, not necessarily when they posted it, because usually it takes a little bit for them to post when they approve something. So on October 16th, I was doing as I should, and I was checking up on state MPAs and found that they had a couple weeks prior had approved this one for an additional year of a contract. So tonight, we're asking for an additional year to expire on November 30, 2025, as well as $70,000 increase on the cap. And I'm only asking for $70,000 because I had previously asked for $35,000. So I'm not asking for what I normally would for a full year tonight.
So the contract period requested back on September 16th, you stated that the contract period was from December 1st, 2024 through November. So what you're asking for now is essentially it's a total of $105,000, the $35,000 we approved in September plus the $70,000 now?
Right, for November or December 1st of 24 to November 30 of 25.
And what did you spend last year?
I don't have that number with me tonight. I can research it, but I don't have that with me.
I'm surprised you don't, because this is the questions I ask at every meeting for 12 years, is what did we spend last year? So we don't know what you spent last year. What we do know is you're looking for about 105,000, at least now, for the upcoming year.
Well, this bid, actually, the piggyback commenced on November 28th of 2022. So it's been actually a couple of years. And we haven't expended beyond our, well, except for when I came in September, just to ensure that we had enough spending authority to get us through the contract period that we were expecting to expire on November 30th, 2024. We haven't expended, I think our original request was $120,000. However, it's, if we have issues with our trucks, if we have a hydraulic spill or a hydraulic leak, or if we have to do, when they're doing preventative maintenance and they have to do an oil change, it's not, like a car where you put 5 quarts in.
Sure,
So,
right.
and then the DEF fluid is diesel exhaust fluid, which is an additive that every diesel truck just about that we have at this point has a separate tank for that because it mixes with the diesel fluid. So you've got to figure that every truck, when they fill up the diesel fuel, they have to fill their DEF tank as well. So that's.
Okay, so would you send that amount that you had or you spent last year, would you send that off to me, us, tomorrow? And I'm asking you now because recently I asked for something to be sent, it wasn't sent, and it's because you got to go through the mayor's office to do it. So the chief of staff is sitting here right now. If there's an objection to sending that off to me tomorrow, could you please just clarify? And it wasn't you, by the way, Christy. Let me just make that clear. It was not you. But that's what I'm requesting. And if the chief has an objection to doing that, I'm sure he can let you know.
Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you.
We'll make sure you get that information. Just looking at the budget, so there's two budget codes referenced here. I think part of this comes from motor oil, which is 65,212 budgeted for 70,000 in the 2025 budget. The run rate the last several years has been about 55,000 ish. And then the balance comes from diesel fuel, which is a little bit difficult to spot in there because it's in with the fuel itself. But it seems to track to the total being asked for the additional year. All right. Thank you, Christy. Any other members of the council have questions or comments? Members of the public? All right. Hearing none, we'll move on to number 6, 2025-230 on-call electrical services and/or projects. Christy.
This is a new bid for the Department of Public Works. We are requesting to award a bid to K Electric Incorporated for on-call electrical services for any of the city assets that we might require their assistance with. The cap that we're requesting is $50,000 for a 1-year period, and it would be 1 year from date of award.
Christy, when you say this is new, this is a new vendor, or this is a new?
This is a new bid. We've never had this bid before.
Okay. But we go out for electrical work when we can't perform it.
We do. And we're running into some instances where we need some assistance outside of city personnel. So that's why the administration decided, said we should put this bid together. So we did, and we're requesting to award.
Okay. How did you come up with the $50,000 amount?
So it is split between different budget codes. You can see 66,340, that is building maintenance. So building maintenance is responsible. That division is technically responsible for all city buildings for the most part. Then you have 41 is the ice rinks, 42 is the pool, and then 7340 is field maintenance, which has like the field lights and things like that. So that's where that amount came from.
Okay. Any questions from members of the committee? Any questions from members of the council? Councilman Lattiser.
Christy, how many vendors did let me rephrase that. How many vendors were sent a request to bid on this?
I believe there were at least 4, and then it's also obviously advertised on the city website and whatever other outlets purchasing uses.
Okay. And you only received 1?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Any other members of the council? Members of the public? Seeing none, we're now at the point of the finance bid package where all the remainder of the items are under $50,000 of spending. We'll go through any members of the committee, council, or public who have specific items they'd like us to cover are welcome at this point to make those known. Councilman Howe.
Thank you. I received information from the department that item number 10, bid 2025-240, that is actually for Ward 2. However, there was a request from the department to amend, so I would like to speak on that one.
Okay. Any others for you, Councilman Howe?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Okay. Councilwoman Travis.
Yes, I have number 11, 2025-261, purchase of 2 solar speed signs.
Okay, thank you. Any others?
No.
Okay. Councilman Lattiser.
Item number 7, 2025-232, found on page 36. Item number 12, 2025-255, found on page 51. And item number 13, 2025-262, found on page 56.
Thank you, Councilman.
Welcome.
Anyone else? Last chance. Any members of the public? Any items you'd like us to pull off? No? All right, we'll just go in order. We'll start Councilman Lattiser. Item number 7, 2025-232 HUD, CDBG 2025 through 2029 Consolidated Plan and 2025 Annual Action Plan. Chief.
Good evening, Bill Facenti, Community Development Manager and Chief of Staff.
Councilman, you have questions?
Thank you. Yes. Good evening, Chief.
Good, how are you?
So it states here that the office emailed 8 firms the notice for the opportunity to bid. And only one person, I should say, you received only 1 bid from CEW, correct?
Correct.
And this was the same company that the city used in 2019.
Correct.
And what was the amount of their contract then?
$31,889.
31,000 what, please?
$31,889. Approximately.
That was quick enough and close enough. So for this approximate $40,000 that we're going to spend on this reference 5-year consolidation plan, it's a very detailed planning document that provides the office with information, yada, yada, yada. When do you receive that work product?
So there's a requirement because this is a HUD required document. And what it includes is the first year action plan. It's a 5-year plan. And it includes year number 1 action plan, which is program year 2025, which begins fiscal year 2026, July 1st. So this plan has to be submitted to HUD no later than May 15th of 2025. The whole plan, the 5-year plan with the first year action plan for approval. It has to be submitted 45 days before the start of the program year, according to HUD guidelines. There is a maximum deadline of August 12th, I believe, of any calendar year. And if you submit it after the August 12th deadline, you do not receive any CDBG funds. That's a statutory requirement.
And once this document is completed, it's submitted to the administration for review, consult, advice, approval? Or is this is what it is? This is what you have to live by?
So it's a work product that the Office of Housing and Community Development, the Planning Department, and the administration works on with community partners, stakeholders that receive CDBG funds, service low-mod income individuals, provide social services to underserved populations throughout the entire city. So there's consultation that's involved with nonprofits, social service agency.
Don't feel bad, Chief. They usually do that to my mic. And you're suggesting what?
So again, they solicit consultation. They do consultations throughout the entire state with stakeholders that provide services to Warwick residents and those that are underserved according to HUD guidelines. Low mod income individuals, minorities, disabled, people like that are underserved.
Once that document is completed, either before or after it's sent in to HUD or after it's approved, is a copy of that document available to the council or the public? Or?
It's available for public comment for 30 days prior to the submission, and it is a completely transparent public process. We have public hearings, public comment periods. We do survey monkeys or surveys. So it's a public process.
Got it. So
there's no council approval or council action.
No, I wasn't asking that. This is literally a hard copy type of document that if any of us or any member of the public wanted to sit down and read sometime, we could.
Yes.
Okay. All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Chief, just before you step away, that public process, that's led by the planning department?
It's
Board?
led by the Housing Community Development Office and the consultant. Planning department is one of the stakeholders, and they are one of the people that offer guidance on obviously zoning and other planning processes, the city's consolidated plan, comprehensive plan, any zoning amendments for low income housing, things like that. It's led by community development and the consultant.
Thank you, Chief. Any other questions on item number 7? Thank you. Next up is item number 10. I believe there's going to be an amendment here. This is going to be PCR 105-24. Oh, I didn't ask public on that last one. Any members of the public have any comment on item number 7? No, sorry. Thank you. Item number 10 is going to be PCR 105-24. Christy, go ahead.
Christy Moretti, Public Works. I want to amend the recommended vendor to Strategic Solution Team. And the reason is because when the bid responses were received in my office, I didn't realize this vendor as well as the one we're amending to, they were clipped together. So I didn't see that there was a lower bidder than the Zyco Construction. So I'd like to amend to Strategic Solution Team, and their bid price was $10,800.
Can you Strategic Solutions
Team, yes.
Team,
Yes.
and the total is 10,800 even?
Yes. All right, Francis says it's $10,888. We will be sure to triple check that on the the bid document and only give them a purchase order for the amount that they bid.
$10,888.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. This being a Ward 2 project, Councilman Ricks, do you have anything to add on this?
Thank you very much. And thank you to to purchasing for going through the process here, for triple checking. I'll just briefly comment that this is part of the Ward 2 ARPA funds. I think that a lot of people are familiar with this particular gazebo located at a small island, traffic island that is, right by the Norwood branch of the Warwick Public Library. It's a wonderful gathering space for the community. You often see people from children, teenagers, to adults who will stop by there, enjoy the shade, maybe read a book right over there. Beautiful scenery. We have about 4 events per year that the city helps to facilitate along with the neighborhood association promoting them. Typically a couple of food truck events and a couple of neighborhood concerts. In addition, it really is a great event space and gathering space for members of the community, from being a local landmark where sometimes the local Santa parade might begin or end, down to more recently. I shouldn't say more recently because this has happened many, many years, going back well over a decade, but certainly more recently on the calendar, the trick-or-treating. Neighborhood association passes out candy there. That gazebo, I remember that when I was about 16 years old. Yeah, I just had a birthday, so yeah, 23 years ago. My mother, one of the founding members of the Norwood Neighborhood Association, she and the other members of the association worked to get that gazebo there. It's been going for 23 years strong. It is showing its age. And so, yeah, this replacement decking, along with some of the other improvements through Ward 2 ARPA funds, it's going to be money well used to preserve this real community treasure that hopefully will be going for another 23 plus years strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Excellent work in your neighborhood there.
Excuse me. We can confirm it's $10,888.
$10,888. Any other members of the committee or the council have any comments on this one? Councilman Lattiser.
So, Christie, is there anyone that double checks this stuff before it comes to us?
Well,
Because-
between Public Works and purchasing, and it goes through multiple hands.
And I guess my point is, does anyone double check the numbers before it comes to us?
I made a mistake, Councilman. I can't speak for what happens in other departments. I'm not there.
Eric Earls, Public Works. Yeah, Christie looked at it and I looked at it and we both missed this one. And then when it got, so we sent the letter up, and then when it got to Francis in purchasing, she caught it. So there you go.
Okay, so with the number of 10,880 to the acting chairman, I'm going to ask you to go into the documents. I didn't print them out, but I did write all of the bids down. I want you to go to the documents that show the individual pricing for each of these bids. And when you get to strategic solution team, let me know if your document says 10,880 or does it say 10,800?
Checking. Councilman, give me a minute.
Sure.
While I'm doing this research, I just want to take a quick moment to welcome Councilman-elect Napa and Councilman-elect Muto, who have joined us this evening.
Yay.
Congratulations. Okay, I found the bid information. I am scrolling. Let's see. Westway, Cornerstone, Dubon, Zaco, Mill City. Strategic Solution Team, remove and replace decking on Norwood, $10,888.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from members of the committee or the council? Questions or comments from members of the public? Okay, seeing none, we have a PCR. It's 105-24. We have an amendment. The amendment is twofold. First, it is to change the awarded vendor to Strategic Solution Team LLC. And second, it is to amend the amount of the award to $10,888.00.
I move favorable action.
Second.
Moved, seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So that was your award, what, 43630. And as amended,
Move favorable action.
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. 3, 6. Okay, perfect. Moving right along, this is your
Yes.
item, Councilwoman. This is item number 11, 2025-261, purchase 2 solar speed signs, Ward 6.
Yes. These are the, I believe, the last of the 2 signs that will be going in Ward 6. One will be located on Seaview Drive, and the other one will be located on Pequot Avenue. These are 2 highly speeding areas that I thought that would be beneficial, especially when we went, I know the first ones we did near the schools, but these were 2 areas that I thought had to be, addressed.
Excellent. Thank you, Councilwoman.
You're welcome.
Any other questions from members of the committee? Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you. This is more of a comment. So with regard to these solar speed signs, if you recall, some time ago, there was an error made with some of us on the solar speed signs, and we were charged an additional price afterwards for the poles and the braces for each of the signs that we received. Today, at least in this bid, that item is $496.74 per. I think it was a bit less, but going by that number, I have 3 signs which I'm going to request on the record tonight to have a credit issued to my account for 3 poles and 3 braces because I have 3 locations they were mounted on telephone poles or an existing pole. So I'm going to be looking for that credit to be applied to Del Judas Park items that we're working on.
Okay, thank you, Councilman. Any other comments from members of the committee? Council? Members of the public? Okay. Next up, item number 12, 2025-255 motor oil, hydraulic and transmission fluids, chassis grease, and gear lube. Councilman Lattiser. Item number 12, Councilman.
This year.
Okay. Moving along. Oh, sorry. Any other questions from members of the council? Questions from members of the public? All right. Thank you very much. Item number 13, 2025-262, purchase 9 new windows for the Department of Public Works offices. Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you. So my question is, how or why did the department go to Lowe's for getting a price on these windows?
Because they have them. I don't know how to answer that question. We went to Lowe's because they're custom windows and Lowe's can accommodate our request.
They're custom windows, which means Lowe's doesn't have them on the shelf. They have to be custom made. But the point is, what you're asking for in windows is a Pella window. And that happens to be the Mercedes of windows. Also happens to be far more expensive than the same windows that I got prices on just today for substantially less. So why didn't this go out for bid? We have at least one local manufacturer here in Warwick who manufactures the windows, custom in any size that you want. And I believe the city's used that company in the past. But just hold on 1 second. Bear with me for 1 minute. This was a bid that I received just this afternoon at about 3:30. And you're looking at a substantial difference in price, Eric. I don't see the need for Pella windows in any of the city buildings that we have. The cost of them is considerably higher than what we can get right here from a local manufacturer. So what I'm going to request is that this be held so that you can either go out for bid or reach out to another manufacturer. And by the way, the company that I contacted has no idea what this bid was, had no idea. What they were given was sizes and statistics on the windows. And this is a comparable product by a local manufacturer, and we're looking at saving the taxpayers about $1,400 on these windows. So with that said, is this a problem for you to hold this and revisit another supplier for a price on the windows?
I don't have a problem with it, although there is a certain degree of urgency. It's not getting any warmer out. The windows are literally falling out of the building. So I would like to expedite this.
How long have they been falling out of the building? We have a broken pane of glass. Windows are falling out of the building. How long has this been going on?
Councilman Bill Facenti, Chief Staff and Community Development Manager. Not to interrupt the Director Earls, these funds are opera funds and they need to be under contract by December 31st, and there's no way to do a public bid in this time.
So you don't need to do a public bid because you already went directly to Lowe's and got a price from them. So what prohibits you directly to go to a local window manufacturer directly and get a price from them and sign a contract tomorrow or the next day? I got the quote right here for you if you'd like to see it, if you'd like it.
I don't need to see it.
So-
I rely on the director to provide the information. So,
Chief, we're looking to purchase windows that are so overkill for what's needed at taxpayer expense, and it makes no sense. It's $1,400 less to go with a comparable product, local manufacturer, and you're not going to get them any quicker from Lowe's custom made than you will from the local manufacturer. So it makes no sense. The sense of urgency thing really doesn't wash with me because we have windows that are falling out of a building. We have windows of broken glass. So if this was such an emergency, we would have did it years ago before they started falling out of the building. And we can save the taxpayers $1,400. No, you don't, Eric, you're shaking your head. You don't agree, right? This is like just being nitpicky.
Yeah, I think
No, it's
so to a
not.
certain
It's a
degree.
$1,400 difference.
I understand that. I understand this is your wheelhouse, right? This is what you do. We just need windows. There's $20,000 in the ARPA budget. We had anticipated going out to bid to have someone install them. We decided to do the work in-house, which is saving the taxpayers $10,000, right? I acknowledge that you don't think Public Works deserves to have nice windows, but can we?
Say that, excuse me, say that again.
You're telling me that we shouldn't have good quality windows. Pella are good quality windows and we shouldn't have them in that building.
No, what I'm saying to you is you don't need to purchase the Cadillac of windows. You can purchase a local window with the comparable U values, the comparable construction, the comparable energy efficiency, the comparable appearance for $1,400 less. That's what I'm saying. So don't make it sound as though I'm trying to make you take some junk window instead of going with the Cadillac. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We don't need the Cadillac, exactly.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Councilman, sounds like you'd like a PCR on this item.
Sure.
I believe the PCR number is 106-24. We've heard the councilman's thoughts on the purchase of these windows and their cost. Is there a motion from the committee on this item? Oh, sorry. Any members of the council have questions or comments? Do you? No? Councilman Ricks?
Through the chair, if I may, a question to Councilman Lattiser. I just want to make sure that I'm clearly understanding this, and I'm not an expert in Windows. I understand that you have many decades of experience in this industry, and so when we're talking about comparable U values, items like that, I want to make sure that I'm clear and understanding that really we're talking about the same exact specifications in terms of the quality and the value that's being given here relative to, say, the Pella windows that are the $1,400 more. I'm not sure exactly what separates those particular windows that you're suggesting from the Pella windows, what makes one a Cadillac, whereas the other something that you would be advocating for here. Thank you.
May I respond, Chairman?
Yes.
So let's make something clear. I'm not
Well, just
advocating.
one second on this. Sorry to interrupt. Remember, there's only these windows before us, so we can't be voting on any other window purchases or anything like that. This was not a bid that came to the city. This is the councilman made a phone call to get this information. So we need to just keep everything framed before us. What is before us is just this one item here. The councilman is asking additional questions, but it's not, we
Fair
can't
point.
choose between two windows at this time. So,
Fair point.
thank you.
Excuse me, Bill Facenti, Chief Staff. So since the council person, and I'm not an attorney, since the council person has reached out to the only local manufacturer of windows, I don't know if the city can go to that vendor and request a price. Now, I don't know.
How is it you went to Lowe's and requested a price?
Up.
Again, I'm not an attorney. I'm just saying you mentioned the company name. You went to the vendor. There's only one window manufacturer in Warwick, and it's custom built.
Thank you, Chief. We'll get a opinion.
And by the way, when I say local, I didn't say just Warwick. I said
Councilman,
local.
Councilman.
There's other
Councilman,
manufacturers in
Councilman.
Rhode Island.
So the question before the council is bid 2025-262, which has now become PCR 10624, is before us under exception to notice requirements 56.6. And the director and the chief have articulated their case and rationale for it. There's no ability to amend or change the vendor. This is really a question of voting up or down on whether to proceed with the proposal presented by the director and the chief.
Thank you.
Chairman?
Do we have any other questions or comments from any other members of the council? Councilman Ricks.
Thank you. A question to the chief. Were there phone calls made to vendors other than Lowe's?
I can't answer that. Director Earl says no.
Okay, so I'll leave with a comment, and if possible, I would like to, through the chair, receive an answer from Councilman Lattiser on that. But before that, I'll just leave with a comment that I do think it is appropriate to exercise Section 3.3 in these circumstances. I do understand that we would not be able to simply substitute vendors here, but if we're going to use 3.3 under these circumstances, it occurs to me that it is a matter of due diligence to go ahead and make multiple phone calls, see what the different prices are, just to try to get the best price that's available. And so for those reasons, if it appears that it would be possible for the city, reasonably possible, that is, for the city to make those kinds of phone calls and save $1,000, $1,400, then unless there's an absolute emergency that we can't wait a couple of weeks or so till the next meeting, it would seem reasonable for the city to go ahead and do that. At the same time, I certainly do also recognize that the city can and often is in a worse position than a private business or other organization when it comes to getting the very best price, because vendors know that they're dealing with the city that has to follow very specific rules, and sometimes, unfortunately, vendors charge the city more. So if this were a situation where I was given information that led me to think that it would just be futile for the city to even bother trying to make additional phone calls, get a better price, then I'd be happy to go along with the present bid that's in front of us. But at this point, based on the information that I currently have, it seems like it would be a good idea to see if we can save that additional $1,400, $1,000, whatever it may be, not just calling one additional vendor, but try calling a few. So that's my comment on the matter, and I'll yield.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Howe?
Very quickly, I'm hearing a lot about we made phone calls. The one phone call that wasn't made is to the office and the department that has made the decision to purchase these windows. And this is what I'm talking about, complementary procedure. If I have an issue, if I see something, let's say in my wheelhouse, and I have an issue with it, or I see that the city, and I'm that eager to save taxpayer money, I am going to call the department and say, hey, I'm noticing you're getting it from here before the meeting, so these discussions don't go on for the amount of time. Yes.
I appreciate your sentiments.
I will call the department beforehand and I will say, this is a concern of mine. I'm still doing my due diligence for the taxpayer. I'm just not doing it into a microphone for 3 people on YouTube to hear it. I am still addressing the duties that I am responsible to do. And guess what? I will also make sure that the work gets done so that we have this replacement. Thank you.
Councilman, thank you. Okay.
Chairman?
Committee, do we have a motion?
Excuse me, Chairman.
PCR
I'm looking to be
106-24.
I move favorable action.
A point of order. I raised my hand, respectfully requested to be recognized.
Excuse me,
and was
Councilman.
ignored.
Councilman, you've spoken multiple times on this. This is committee. You're not on the committee. The chairman has called the vote. You can't interrupt the vote. Chairman finished the vote. You can get another opportunity to speak on this when it comes to the full council.
Thank you. We've
Go
had
ahead.
a motion and a second for favorable action.
I
Can we
call a
get-
point of order. I want an answer from the citizens. I want an answer from the solicitor. I called the point of
Aye.
order.
You can't call the point of order. You're not on the committee.
What, solicitor, I'm asking for your opinion.
Committee's in session.
You, the chairman has, or acting chairman in this case, has guided that you've been allotted your time. I don't have a clock to say otherwise, but you've been allotted time on this issue, and in the opinion of the chair, they want to proceed forward with the vote.
So what prevents me from requesting a point of order?
State your point of order.
The point of order is I requested acknowledgement to make further comment on this issue and was just ignored.
It's not a point of order. The chairman has ruled.
It's a what?
The chairman, the acting chair has
Fine.
made his decision.
Okay.
Councilman, I think we understand your point. We've discussed it to a great extent. It's got a PCR. It'll be on the docket during the meeting.
Just double check on public.
Does the public have anything to add? Any questions or comments from members of the public? Thank you. Okay, moving along. PR 104-24, resolution relative to abatements. Mr. Dupuy.
Good evening, Neil Dupuy, Director of Assessing. This month, we have abatements for you in the amount of $13,840.00. They are all new abatements that were the result of exemption applications, but I'll answer any questions that you might have.
Any members of the committee have any questions on the abatements? Members of the council? Anyone? Members of the council? Members of the public? Okay, thank you, Mr. Dupuy. Do we have a motion on the abatements?
Move favorable action?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, last up is PCR 97-24, a resolution relative to issuing requests for proposals for community projects. I am going to pull this one up. I believe the bulk of these this evening are for me. However, there's a few amendments, so just give me a second. Okay. There were 4 originally on this. Again, we're getting down to the wire on here, so I needed to add these to the resolution as they were being researched. We're actually going to strike 3 of these out. 2 of these off of the list. So the first item, Ward 9, ARPA Duchess Ave, will be struck. And the third item, Ward ARPA St. Greg's baseball scoreboard, also will be struck. Aside from that, are there any questions from members of the committee?
Just one, Mr. Chairman. This is probably just housekeeping. So this will require an amendment, or is it just?
This will require
Okay.
an amendment, yes.
Thank you. All set. Thank you.
Members of the council? Okay, so first up, I'm going to make a motion to amend to strike bullet point 1, Duchess Ave Park swing set, that whole bullet point, and point 3, St. Greg's baseball scoreboard. Do any questions or comments on the amendment? Motion?
Make a motion to amend.
Sorry, do I need to get on the amendment? Any questions for members of the committee, council, public? No. Okay. Can you make that motion?
Certainly. Make a motion to amend as mentioned.
Okay, second. All in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
And then as amended?
Make a motion as amended.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that concludes the business for the Finance Committee. Time is now 6:30 PM.
Mr. President, if I may I thank Councilman Gebhardt? As I came in late, I just figured keep the tradition going and he could finish the committee. So I do thank the councilman and my colleagues for allowing that to happen.
Thank you. Thank you, Councilman. Happy to help.
Thank you. The next committee to take place is Public Safety, and that can take place at this time. Councilman Ricks is going to chair this committee with Councilman McElroy.
So the Finance Committee comes back to order at 6:32. The only item before us is the motion and vote on the full consent calendar, with the exception of the items that were pulled off to be amended. Do we have a motion?
Favorable action? Where'd he go?
We will hold that motion. Oh, I can second it. Second. All in favor?
Favor? Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you. The Finance Committee adjourns for the second time at 6:33.
All right. The Public Safety Committee comes to order at 6:34. 6:35. Here we go. First up, we have the acceptance of minutes from the committee meeting held on October 7, 2024. Do we have a motion? Acceptance has been moved. I'll second. All in favor? Aye. We have one item on the agenda. This is Councilman Gebhardt. So this is PCR 102-24, a resolution in regards to installing a marked crosswalk across and signage around Major Potter Road near the eastern intersection with Quaker Lane. Councilman Gebhardt, recommendation, please.
Recommendations for favorable action.
All right, and let's open up this hearing. Councilman Gebhardt.
Okay. So this one follows, there's been a number of items that have come up here. So the Sergeant Center, who is represented here tonight by Mr. David Kane, the president and CEO. Sergeant Center is a center that works with individuals with disabilities, with recovery, cognitive and physical function. And they have a beautiful center on Route 2, sort of over near Cardi's. The center's been in operation for 100 years, so a long tradition of serving the community. About a year ago, so the center continues to grow because there's great need and demand for the types of services that they offer. About a year ago, we started to get some complaints about parking, mostly for the staff of the center as they are parking along Major Potter Road, close to Quaker Lane. So members of the community behind took issue with the parking. They felt it difficult to get out. So we worked with the center and with the Warwick Police Department to alter the parking flow over there to create a safer means of egress for the neighbors. Concurrent to that, the center acquired another piece of property that's just across the street from where they are located. That additional property actually is going to expand opportunities for parking, both for staff as well as anyone coming to visit the center. It's also going to host a number of additional amenities, and they recently had a ribbon cutting, which I know a number of state officials came to celebrate. And the ask here is that as they expand into this second facility, given the nature of the individuals who are using the services of the facility, as well as the safety of their staff, they're requesting the city take the action to make a crosswalk sort of across Major Potter Road to essentially join the two properties and for safe passage across the road. And as I mentioned at the beginning, Mr. Kane is here and can provide testimony to that effect. So thank you. Request favorable action.
Thank you for all of the background and information. This certainly seems very worthy. I'd like to thank everyone involved for really putting in the time, due diligence to solve this issue, try to make this as safe as possible. Councilman?
One more, because it was asked by Councilman Sinapi, and I'm sure others will ask. Councilman Sinapi asked if this was supported by a traffic study. We did put in for a traffic study, however, learned that the police department does not actually conduct traffic studies for the purpose of crosswalk placement. So that was done without a recommendation. The city DPW and engineer are actually the ones who provide a recommendation on crosswalk, and they will be reviewing that, with the resolution in hand. So thank you.
Thank you also for that clarification. That makes perfect sense to me. Let's see. Any comment? Well, first, I'd like to extend an invitation for the president of the organization if he would like to say a few words. I believe that we all received the packet, so not necessary to go into detail unless there may be questions from members of the council or members of the public. But certainly your attendance is very much appreciated to provide any additional information that we may need. You would certainly be welcome to say a few words if you'd like to, but I also don't want to pressure you to have to reiterate everything that Councilman Gebhardt said or otherwise that's stated in the packet. Indeed, the photos provided in the packet, they say 1,000 words. So you'd be welcome to speak or otherwise. It's very much appreciated that you're here to answer any questions that we may have.
Well, just briefly, thank you for entertaining the request. This is our response to the increased traffic on the road, and we were really excited to be able to enter into negotiations and acquire this property. We tore the motel down on Thursday of last week. We installed the parking yesterday and today, and that will continue through the week. We're really confident that this will alleviate the stress of the additional cars that our staff and the public have put on the road. Certainly, that's not the the preferred method. So we were able to acquire the property, put the parking lot in. Once that's completed, we're just asking for the crosswalk to complete this. So now we'll be able to get the cars off the road, which is our contribution to the neighborhood, working with our neighbors to address the concerns. And the crosswalk will certainly do that. So I just want to thank everybody for entertaining that.
Well, thank you very much. And pardon me, I forgot to mention one thing, simple procedural requirement. Help to keep things simple for our city clerk when taking the minutes. If you could please state your full name while you're up at the mic.
I'm sorry. David Kane. I'm the president and CEO of Sargent Center in Warwick.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Any questions, members of the council? Excuse me, members of the committee. Any questions, members of the council? Any questions, members of the public? Hearing none, do we have a motion? Yeah. Yep, I hear a motion for favorable action from Councilman McElroy, a second from Councilwoman Travis. All in favor? Aye.
Thank you, committee.
Thank you. And there being no further business of the Public Safety Committee, we adjourn at 6:42 p.m.
The next committee to meet is the Intergovernmental Committee, and that can meet at this time.
It is now 6:44 and the Intergovernmental Committee is now in session. The first order of business is the acceptance of minutes from the committee meeting held on October 21st, 2024. Do I hear a motion? I hear a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. The first item on the calendar is PCR 99-24, a resolution requesting investigations into reports of smells of gas leaks on Fashion Drive. Councilman Sinapi.
So the title somewhat speaks for itself. It's been an ongoing situation for, I think, a year or more, where the smell of gas is palpable for anyone in the cul-de-sac, sometimes worse than other days. Even our esteemed solicitor himself found out the hard way that the smell of gas is very much present there. And for whatever reason, the utility company has allowed it to go unabated, or at least whatever measures they've taken have not been sufficient. So hopefully, as a result of the resolution, which will go to, among other things, the regulators for the utility, they'll actually get something done and address the situation, because you don't, in the normal course of business, you're not supposed to smell gas. If you do, there's a problem. And for anyone to say otherwise is strongly mistaken, especially when it can be smelled, not in a building, but outdoors, which is even more concerning. So I would definitely request favorable action.
Any questions or comments from the committee? Questions or comments from the council? Questions or comments from the public?
Hi, I'm Darlene Netco. I actually live in Ward 7, but my mother and sister live in Ward 8, which is Councilman Sinapi's ward. And I personally have called Rhode Island Energy on more than one occasion over the last, I would say, 2 years or more. The neighbors in the cul-de-sac have also called. They send someone out, they look around. One person did tell me it's not a high priority. There is a very, very strong odor of gas on a regular basis. When we get our gas bills, they send the little scratch and sniff in there, and they say, natural gas is odorless and colorless. We add this chemical that smells like sulfur, so the public can recognize it and call when they smell it, because you're not supposed to have that smell, which indicates that there's gas. I visit my mother quite frequently. When I leave and I'm driving away and driving out into the main road, I can still smell gas in my car. I had to call the rescue squad for my mother last year. The rescue came, the fire department came. After the rescue left, the members of the fire department said to me, does it smell like this all the time? And I said, yes. And they got their readers out and they went around, and then they called the gas company, and the gas company still didn't do anything. And that's when the Warwick Fire Department got involved. So I thank Councilman Sinapi for putting this together as a this issue together as a resolution that is going to go to, as they say, everybody and his brother. And hopefully, once it gets to the regulatory agencies, Rhode Island Energy will do something about the smell of gas, because, you know, every now and again you're watching the news and there's a gas explosion somewhere, and, you know, I don't want to see that, obviously, in front of my mother's house or anywhere in Warwick or anywhere for that matter. So I think, as Councilman Sinapi said, it shouldn't have to come to this, but if it has to come to this, then it has to come to this to get the Rhode Island Energy to do its job. So I thank again Councilman Sinapi, the Intergovernmental Committee, and the City Council for hopefully voting in favor of this and moving this resolution forward. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments from the public? Any questions from the council?
Just through the chair, would you mind if we ask the chief of staff to step to the mic?
No.
No, he wouldn't mind.
I do not mind, Chief.
You might mind, but he doesn't mind.
Okay.
Chief, we have like contacts at Grid, don't we?
So we had a really good contact with Rhode Island Energy Electric, Marissa Albanese. She's recently retired. We do have a new person that has taken over We have an appointment scheduled with them, I think in the next 2 weeks, to meet with them. Gas has always been separate, but Marisa always helped a little bit when she could. But we can, check with our government affairs people at National, Rhode Island Energy.
Okay.
Call it National Grid.
Yeah, because this resolution is great. It puts it on paper, but it's a shame that's been going on as long as it has. And
I've only been here since July in this position, so I've never heard of this issue.
Okay.
So I apologize if this has been
No.
on our radar.
okay, yeah, I'd just be hopeful we could get it resolved without in the time it's going to take for this resolution to get signed and get transmitted and get on someone's desk. So, thank you.
Councilman Howe.
Thank you, Chairman. With Councilman Sinapi's permission, I would like to be added as a sponsor, please. Thank you.
It's pretty much unanimous. Okay. Any other questions from the public? Comments? Yes, Councilman.
So yes, I want to be added as a sponsor as well. And I certainly understand the need for doing this. I experienced years back a very similar situation, Warwick Neck Avenue, in the Rocky Point Avenue vicinity, of constant calls from my constituents with the smell of gas, and you can drive down the road and you can smell it. And it took an extensive amount of time to finally get the gas company up there and do a little research, and ended up repairing, I don't remember, 100, 200, 300 feet of gas line to correct the problem. So yeah, it's unfortunate that these type of pieces of legislation have to be done, but they do. And to go to the chief's comments about Marissa, she was more than outstanding. Unfortunately for not just Warwick, but the entire state, she retired, well deserved so, but she just did an amazing job. So good job on this, Councilman Sinapi.
Do I hear a motion?
Move favorable action.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is now 6:52 and the Intergovernmental Committee is adjourned.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We will see you back here at 7 o'clock for the full city council meeting. See you at 7.
I had gas on my road.
Good evening, everyone. I call the November 6, 2024 City Council meeting to order. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. McAllister.
Here.
Mr. Foley.
Here.
Mr. Gephardt.
Here.
Mr. Howard.
Here.
Mr. Lattiser. Here. Mr. McElroy.
Here.
Mr. Ricks.
Here.
Mr. Snappy. Ms. Travis.
Here.
9 present.
Thank you. Councilman-elect Muto, will you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
There we go. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose bright stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we walked.
Good evening again. At this time, we're going to do general communications. This is the announcements of congratulations, condolences at community events. I have some congratulations to hand out. If you're here this evening or watching at home, you'll see that we have some guests that have joined us this evening. The council, we invited the individuals who were elected last night. The councilman-elect from a couple of different wards are here to join us, so they're going to sit here. I'll have each council person from that ward introduce their guest, and I will introduce the next Ward 7 council person in a second. But I do want to not only congratulate all the winners last evening, the school committee, city council, the mayor, all the state reps, state senators. I congratulate all the winners, but I also want to thank and congratulate everybody who ran for public office. It is not an easy job. It is a very important job. And I think it's very easy to sit on the sidelines and complain or act like you're an expert on all issues. But the people that step up, put their name on the ballot, I give them all the respect in the world. Win or lose, putting your name out there, talking to your neighbors, asking people to support you and to vote for you. Is very important, and it's an honorable thing. So I congratulate not only the winners, but everybody who stepped up and put their name on the ballot this year and every year. So with that, I do have another congratulations, and that is to Jack Kirby from Ward 7. Mr. Kirby is a longtime Warwick resident, a business owner here in Warwick, has been attending council meetings for years, been a longtime member of a number of community organizations, and I congratulate you, Councilman-elect, and we're already talking, we're going to get together, and I look forward to handing over the reins to you, and I know that you will be a great steward for Ward 7. So also under general communications, again, this is announcements of congratulations, condolences, of community events. I'm going to ask Councilwoman Travis if you have some congratulations to one of our guests here this evening. Councilwoman Travis.
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes, it's my honor that I'm going to introduce Bill Muto, a longtime Warwick resident, and I consider a friend. And I think he's going to make a great councilman, and I wish him nothing but the best. And I think he's going to be an asset to the city of Warwick and, of course, to Ward 6. So welcome. You're welcome.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Councilman Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would also like to introduce to my colleagues and to the council Brian Napa, Councilman of Ward 3 elect. Brian, again, lifelong resident of Warwick, business owner, lawyer, has his own practice. Brian has been a great assistance for me, especially working and talking to the neighbors of his neighborhood where the cargo facility is going in with RIAC. His calmness and expertise, but also willingness to wear out a couple pairs of shoes, talking to the neighbors, definitely helped. Brian is married. I want to congratulate Brian also, as this past Sunday, correct? Saturday, he married his longtime sweetheart, and so his family grew ill, and I want to also identify that he has a young little daughter who attends the public schools here in Warwick. So he also is a coach. He's coached for many years on his own, is also with his father, and staples of the city of Warwick. They coached my kids, and that's how we first met. It was outside of council or anything like that. So I have all the faith in what Brian's going to bring to the table, and congratulations. And I feel very comfortable, like you said, handing over the reins to someone, some fresh new ideas and energy to come into our wards to represent Ward 3 and this council in this city. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Are there any other council members have anything under general communications? Congratulations, condolences, or community events? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to executive communications. There are none. A is the acceptance of the minutes for the council meeting held on October 21st, 2024. Councilman Howe.
Move favorable action.
Second by Councilman Foley and Councilman Gephardt. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Next up is the announcement of appointments. There are none. Number 2 is the appointments requiring confirmation. There are none. So now we're moving to number 3 on the agenda this evening, which is the consent calendar. First up is PCR 103-24, a resolution relative to bids. The Finance Committee was chaired by Councilman Gephardt this evening. So Councilman Gephardt.
Thank you, Council President. The 103-24. Item number 1, 2025-266.
Oh, hold on 1 second. We just need you to move it favorable. We'll get a second.
Move favorable.
And a second by Councilman Howe. Go ahead, Councilman
All right.
Gephardt.
So included in here is item number 1, 2025-266, purchase 2 2023 side loading refuse vehicles. Item number 2, 2025-172, purchase 2025 Kenworth L770 side loading vehicles. Item number 3, 2023-220 body worn cameras, software, and associated equipment. Item number 4, purchase 1 Freightliner VanCon truck. Item number 5, 2023-257 state of Rhode Island premium diesel exhaust fluid, lubricants, oil, and greases. Item number 6, 2025-230 on-call electrical services and/or projects. Item number 7, HUD 2025-232 HUD CDBG 2025 through 2029 consolidated plan. 2025-259 purchase traffic signs and sign system. 2025-220 emergency lighting equipment. Item number 11, 2025-261 purchase 2 solar speed signs. Item number 12, 2025-255 motor oil hydraulic transmission fluids. Item number 14, 2025-219 purchase 5-step ADA compliant portable pool stairs. Item 15, 2025-241 purchase personal flotation device. Item 16, 2025-260 critical skills diver course. Item 17, 2025-129 basketball system ward 7. Item 18, 2025-123 purchase MIG welder. And that concludes the consent calendar.
Thank you. Any questions or comments that were not asked earlier this evening in the Finance Committee? Okay, next up on the consent calendar is PCR 104-24, a resolution relative to abatements. Committee report finance, I believe this is the abatement number of $13,840. Committee report, Councilman Gephardt.
$13,840 is the correct amount. There were no amendments or adjustments to the abatement report.
And you're moving that favorable?
Move favorable.
And second by Councilman Howe. Any questions or comments that were not asked earlier this evening in committee? Okay, hearing none, the clerk will call a roll for Councilman Foley.
To the solicitor, is it appropriate for me to vote present since I was not here for any of the testimony?
It's your comfort level. If you reviewed the materials and you're prepared to vote, then that's fine. If you want, out of an abundance of caution, to abstain, you're welcome to do that as well.
So is voting present acceptable?
Abstention would be the proper.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Okay, hearing none, the clerk will call a roll for favorable action on the consent calendar.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Present.
Mr. Gephardt?
That's
yes.
Again.
Abstain.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Ladison?
Yes.
Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi? Ms. Travis? Yes. 8 yes, 1 abstention. Consent passes.
Thank you. Consent calendar passes. I believe there was 2 items that were taken off the consent calendar. First off is bid 2025-240, which is now PCR 105-24. This was recommended favorable with amendment, changing to strategic solutions team at the amount of $10,888. Councilman Gephardt, would you like to move that amendment?
Yeah, just a brief adjustment. Strategic Solutions Team LLC, and the amount you quoted was correct. Move favorable action.
And second by Councilman Ricks and Councilman Howe and Councilwoman Travis. Any questions or comments on the amendment? Okay, hearing none, the clerk will call a roll for favorable action on the amendment.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Foley? Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi? Ms. Travis? 8 yes, 1 abstention. Motion passes.
Thank you. Amendment passes. Councilman Gephardt, would you like to move favorable as amended?
Move favorable as amended.
Second by Councilwoman Travis and Councilman Howe. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, the clerk will call a roll for favorable action as amended.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Foley? Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser?
Yes.
Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi? Ms. Travis?
Yes.
8 yes, 1 abstention. Favorable as amended.
Thank you. Favorable as amended passes. The second item that was pulled off the consent calendar is bid number 2025-262, which is now PCR 106-24. This is recommended favorable action. For action, Councilman Gephardt.
Move favorable action.
Second by Councilman Howe. Questions or comments on this? Councilman Lattiser.
Thank you, Mr. President. So you heard comments earlier that I should have reached out and contacted DPW about the cost of these windows. No, it's not my job. It's not my job to do the shopping. It's not my job to get comparative pricing. But when I see a price that is out of whack or is too high, then that just kind of prompts me to do that, which I did this afternoon at about 3:30. And this is something that we pay some pretty good salaries for people to do this. It's not something that I should have to do or anyone else on the city council should have to do. That is something that I would expect whomever is in these positions to exercise the due diligence to pick up the phone and get other prices, or to make a determination that, well, it's expensive enough that perhaps it should go out for bid. To make a phone call and get a price on a particular product and just say, this is good, this is what we're going to do, is not responsible. You certainly wouldn't do that in your own world. If 62 or 63 or 7,000 or whatever monies we're talking about were coming out of your pocket, I don't believe that someone would just say, okay, let's go, this is fine. I doubt it. I would expect that you would get other prices. And that wasn't done. And it makes no sense to me to have to pay a significant amount of monies more for a product that is just overqualified, when you can get a comparable product, in this case, a window manufactured by a local manufacturer. Lowe's, by the way, doesn't manufacture at all, as far as I know, and certainly it's not local. So this is not something that I'm going to be able to support. It's not about the necessity of the new windows. I agree with that. Obviously, from the testimony, these windows have not been maintained in a very, very long time. And an emergency is an unexpected event, typically, is an emergency. You have a busted water pipe, you have an electrical failure, you have a generator that just dies. These windows are not an emergency. This isn't all of a sudden an event. And to spend $1,400 or $1,000 or whatever that amount of monies is more when due diligence wasn't performed by simply picking up the phone and making an additional phone call. Just doesn't make any sense to me. So I'm not going to be able to support this. I would strongly suggest that the bid be denied and that DPW reaches out to another manufacturer, just like they did with Lowe's, and perhaps a third. There are at least 3 window manufacturers that I'm aware of in Rhode Island. And get a comparable price, as opposed to purchasing a product that is just way overqualified for what is necessary. And that's where I am with this, Mr. President. If it goes, if this honorable body chooses to go ahead and approve these windows at a much higher number than they could, then I'll be voting no. If they choose, or this body chooses, to deny this bid and have DPW reach out and get, and I'll be very happy to provide the written quote that I have on those windows. The delivery time will be the same. And by the way, from a local manufacturer, the windows will be delivered to the DPW building. They won't have to pick them up. This bid is going to require the windows to be picked up, as I read the bid. So that's where I am. I'm going to request that this bid this item, PCR 10624, be denied, and request that DPW circle out or circle back for pricing, or they can certainly use the pricing that I have.
Thank you, Councilman. And I believe it was stated in Finance Committee that these are ARPA funds, which needs to be expended by the end of the month, end of next month here. So that is one of the reasons the administration went through this process this way, because they're using specific funds that need to be allocated at a specific time.
Mr. Chairman, with all due respect,
Councilman, you have not been recognized.
Say what? I didn't hear what you said.
Councilman Gephardt, go ahead.
Thank you, Council President. Yeah, we had extensive discussion on this item 13 in committee. I think I ended up expediting the conversation because I think we had gotten to the root of this, which is that it seems like corners were cut on this one, and I support Councilman Lattiser in not being thrilled with the process on this. When we go out to bid, we get bids, and I think in all of our personal lives, we're going to make a big purchase. It's prudent to get more than one quote for the work that you're looking to get done. Does not seem like these if you can go to Lowe's and get these, it seems like you could go to Home Depot and get them. You could go to wherever else. So I'm willing to either move to hold this and give the department time to go get a few more quotes, or I'm happy to vote no in support, in opposition to this, and they can go back and do the legwork to get enough quotes to know that we are getting a good deal on these windows. Thank you,
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Oh, okay. So, fine.
Excuse me. So just want to give some clarification on the process. So we can't amend this. So there really wouldn't be an action to hold this. what is being asked is if they can use a 56.6 on this particular one. So if that is what is before us at this time, so it's really an up or down vote on that, because they wouldn't be able to change this particular one. They'd have to bring it back to us in a different form or use a different thing. So,
Thank you for the clarification.
and then one more clarification just on the rules as well, just so everybody's aware. 56.6, it does take 6 votes to pass. So I just, when people are doing their thoughts on this and whatnot, to keep that in the back of mind, it takes 6 votes to pass. So there wouldn't be any reason to hold it. It should be an up or down, because you can't amend it or make a change. They would have to, if it does not pass, it would have to come back as a totally different bid at this time. Councilman Ricks.
Thank you. I agree with Councilman Lattiser on this. First, starting with, I believe, his first point. Yeah, it's not our job as part-time, I hesitate to say part-time, especially in front of the new members-elect. You'll find that this job, it may as well be a full-time job, but it's technically considered to be a part-time job for which we're compensating $10,000 per year. It is not our job to be standing over the shoulder and assisting the administration necessarily in making sure that they're dotting the I's, crossing the T's necessarily. It's our job to be the watchdogs, to be able to make sure that everyone else is doing what they need to be doing all the time by having these public meetings where if something comes before us where it's a recurring issue or it's something that should be part of the standard procedure, yeah, it might not be the most pleasant thing in the world. It might be construed in ways that aren't the best, but it is part of the job to make sure that there is a certain level of accountability here. That's not to say that there aren't other times where we on the council have to have a more collaborative approach, where we work hand in hand with the administration. Of course, there's a place and there's a time and place for that too, and that is very frequent as well. But especially when it comes to some of these bids, I think that Councilman Lattiser was completely in line with how he handled this matter, because I think that it should be the common practice, should be a standard practice, that especially if we're going to deviate from the norm of going through a bid process, we don't want members of the public thinking that it's okay, that somehow it's okay with the city just calling up one vendor and going with the first price we hear. I mean, really, that's why we have this whole Byzantine bid process in the first place, to prevent that sort of thing. So, especially with Councilman Lattiser pointing out that he was able to identify a lower price for a comparable product, I suppose a question through the president to Councilman Lattiser. This is an item that I did want to, if possible, hear from Councilman Lattiser elaborate on, is I've heard you state that it's a comparable product, but the Pella is effectively like the Cadillac, and I'm not sure if the distinction there is really something that has to do just more with the brand name or the finish, as opposed to the actual specs and performance. Not that we're looking to substitute anything here, but rather for the purpose of what's going to be really the deciding factor in my vote on this particular item is, would it ultimately wind up being futile for the city to, at this point, go through the process and wind up back in front of us at the next council meeting with the exact same thing? Or is this something where, okay, this is a legitimate option that is worth exploring, that could get us potentially a better price? We won't know for sure whether it actually does get us a better price or not until they try, obviously. But I want to try to predict that sort of thing to see if it makes sense to have the city perform that additional work now that we are here. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Ricks. Again, we can't, it's not an either or, so we don't really need to go down the line of discussing the two different windows. It's not an either or. It's either the council is going to approve the use of a 56.6 on this or not. So I don't think we really need to go down because we can't, if we can't pick between two different things at this time. It's only the technical question on the 56.6. And again, it takes 6 votes for that to pass. So, Councilman Howe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to address my colleagues and just identify that for the last 4 years, as chairman of the Finance Committee, the one thing I have stressed, I agree with what Councilman Lattiser said. It is not our job to shop. I agree with what Councilman Rick said. This is not a part-time job, but it is a job. And it's a job that we do, and this committee does when we go through our brochures and we review the bids. When there is an issue, and this is the key point that comes to this, is when there is an issue that we see, takes 0 effort and 0 issue to pick up the phone, call a department, and ask a question. If the department does not get back, and we've done this in the committee, we'll say automatic, I called, I did not get a response, we will hold. So without starting conflict, I do want to call out what Councilman Lattiser said. It's not his job to shop when he purposely shopped and called another company. I am not debating would I prefer to see something go to another company. That's fine. My argument, my statement, my stance is that if a phone call had been made, I don't agree with this to the department. You're not shopping. You're doing your job as a representative of the citizens, and you're calling the city that you work with and for. You're calling the department that our job is to support and oversight, and you're saying, here is my issue. And what I feel this was yet again, and I know the words will be controversial, was another gotcha. And what I am trying to say, what I've been saying for 4 years, is that as I and the members of this committee, Councilman Gebhardt and Councilman Foley and I review, our job is to know a lot about a little, and that's the Finance Committee. Everyone on a committee has a responsibility to really fine-tooth it. Do things get through the cracks? Absolutely. But at the same time, a phone call, an email, a conversation is never an issue. To be very honest with you, something was noticed with your ARPA. It's your ward, Councilman Ricks, but we saw an issue. It was addressed, it was done, and you got your ARPA project approved because someone took the time to look, research, and call. That's all I'm saying. That's my number one argument with this. My number one statement with this is that how can we, as a committee, as a council, where we're checking and doing oversight, argue with each other when at least we know a line of communication was open? We didn't shop, we communicated. That is my argument. I will be voting for this because I do understand this was not put out to bid, but I also will respect my colleagues' decisions. But that is the statement that I made and I've been making for 4 years. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Councilman. Again, I don't want to go back and forth on this. It's been discussed. I do want to give Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Snappi, and Councilman McElroy, if they would like to speak on this, give you that opportunity. If not, I do think we should take a vote. It's been moved favorable action. Again, we're discussing, can they use a 56.6 on this? If it were to pass, it moves forward. If it does not pass, the administration then can decide if they want to go out to bid. They can decide if they want to bring it back to us at another council meeting at 56.6, maybe making some additional calls. They could use the charter 3.3. There's a number of options that are available. So unless Councilman McElroy, Councilwoman Travis, or Councilman Snappi have anything to say, we'll call the vote. Councilman Snappi.
So
as long as it's still the case that the director is fine with a potential alternative, or rather more succinctly, with this not necessarily going forward as it currently stands, as he stated before, then I'm fine with this, fine with voting no on it. But if he hadn't said that, I would have voted yes regardless, because forget the financial side of things. There's a pretty strong safety issue when there's broken glass actively just hanging out on city buildings and secured and basically MacGyvered in various ways. Like, that's not, forget the aesthetics parts of it. That's a danger to everybody. And if somebody gets hurt, it's the city that's liable. So we're talking about $1,400, yes, and it's important, and it should be addressed as far as the processes or lack thereof. However, if someone gets hurt, I promise you it's going to cost a lot more than $1,400. But again, as long as the director is of the mindset that they're fine with a slight delay as this is looked into, then I'm fine with that. But if that's not the case, please someone speak up and say so from the administration.
Good evening, Bill Facente, Chief of Staff. The administration stands by its request of its director. As it's been mentioned, it's the council's job to approve or deny. It's our job to get the quotes to you. We stand by the request.
And that being the case, I'd actually vote in favor of this then, for the reasons already stated.
Thank you, Councilman Sinapi. Councilwoman Travis.
I'm just going to add to the safety part of it. I mean, it's getting cold out there. These broken windows are not going to help, have them keep waiting either. That was my concern when we were talking about them, saying, gee, we better do it then, because we want to get this done with the bad weather coming and the safety part of it. I was concerned about that mostly, but I guess we'll just see how the votes go.
Thank you. Any last words from Councilman McElroy?
I agree 100% with Councilman Howe.
Thank you. Okay, so everyone's had a chance to speak on this numerous times in committee and at the full council. So it has been moved and seconded for favorable action. So the clerk will call a roll for favorable action. Yes.
Abstain.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. 5-3, 1 abstention. So the motion would fail as it's 56-6. Thank you. And that completes the finance docket. So thank you, Councilman Gephardt, for stepping in this evening. Next up is unfinished business. There is none. So we're now moving to new business. First up is PCR 97-24, a resolution relative to issuing a request for proposals for community projects. Committee report, finance. I believe
This was moved favorable with an amendment.
Correct. So if you could move that favorable, and we'll get a second, then I'll ask you for the amendment.
Move favorable action on the amendment.
Second, go ahead, Councilman Gephardt, with the amendment.
The amendment is to strike point 1, which states Ward 9 ARPA Duchess Ave Park swing set, and point 3, which states Ward 9 ARPA St. Craig's baseball scoreboard. The rest of it is intact.
Okay. Any questions on the amendment? Okay. Hearing none, the clerk will call a roll for favorable action on the amendment.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Foley? Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser? Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi? Ms. Travis? 8 yes, 1 abstention. Motion to amend passes.
Thank you. Councilman Gephardt, would you like to move favorable as amended?
Move favorable as amended.
Second by Councilman Howe. Councilwoman Travis. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, the clerk will call a roll for favorable action as amended.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Abstain.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser? Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi? Ms. Travis? 8 yes, 1 abstention. As amended, passes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Number 2 this evening is PCR 99-24, resolution requesting investigations into reports of smell of gas leaks on Fashion Drive. Committee report, intergovernmental.
Favorable action, Mr. President.
For action, Councilman Sinapi. Second by Councilman Lattiser, Councilwoman Travis, Councilman Gephardt, Councilman McElroy, Councilman Howe. And I believe everyone that was here also asked to be added as a co-sponsor. And Councilman Foley, I know you read this before you got here. Would you like to be added as well?
Point of information, I was not at my chair, but at these 2 committee meetings, I was in the lobby listening to testimony. I feel comfortable voting on these.
Thank you. And would you like to be added as a co-sponsor?
Yes, please.
Okay, so the record will show that all 9 members have been asked to be a co-sponsor. Any questions or comments that were not asked earlier this evening in committee? Hearing none, the clerk will call a roll for favorable action.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser? Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks?
Yes.
Mr. Sinapi? Ms. Travis? 9 yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Motion passes. Number 3 this evening is PCR 102-24, a resolution in regards to installing a marked crosswalk across and signage around Major Potter Road. Committee report, Public Safety, Councilman Ricks.
Recommend favorable action.
For action, Councilman Gephardt.
Move favorable action.
Second by Councilman Howe. And Councilman Lattiser. Any questions or comments that were not asked earlier this evening in committee? Hearing none, the clerk will call a roll for favorable action.
Mr. McAllister?
Yes.
Mr. Foley?
Yes.
Mr. Gephardt?
Yes.
Mr. Howe?
Yes.
Mr. Lattiser? Mr. McElroy?
Yes.
Mr. Ricks? Mr. Sinapi? Ms. Travis? 9 yes, motion passes.
Thank you. Motion passes. We're now moving to unanimous consent. Ward 1, anything to docket under unanimous consent?
Pass.
Ward 2.
Pass.
Ward 3. Ward 4.
Pass.
Ward 5. Ward 6.
Pass.
Ward 7 passes. Ward 8. Ward 9. Councilwoman Travis.
If there be no further business from this honorable body, I move to a docket session.
All those in favor to move into docket session, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? We are now in the docket session. Ward 1, anything to docket this evening? Ward 2.
Pass.
Ward 3. Ward 4.
Pass.
Ward 5. Ward 6.
Pass.
Ward 7 passes. Ward 8. Ward 9. Thank you very much. We are adjourned. We will see you on in a couple weeks.